make a prediction. We're gonna review Blue Beetle here next week. I don't know if that one counts, but no, I do want to see this. There's been some early feedback, so you've seen some, not really reviews, just kind of just a few, I guess, statements here about the movie. For the most part, all these early reactions, we're calling them, first reactions, all been pretty positive. I think I hear a lot of things like how well it represents Latino culture. They say it's fun, it's self-contained, it's emotional, it's about family. They talk about George Lopez is in it, who's hilarious. They say he really shines. They say the main character or the guy starring Zolo Mariduena, maybe, I don't know if that's how you could be butchering that.
Right. Just stick with Zolo.
So Zolo, they said he did a great job playing Blue Beetle or whatnot. There were some of the critiques were that little shaky start. Some of the other critiques were it's too funny, too comical at times, which sometimes, I mean, you've had issues with movies with that, where they kind of hold that comic relief button the whole time. Yeah. But for the most part, says it's pretty good origin story, right? I'm excited to see it.
Yep.
Make a prediction though. It's not a good one. Okay. My prediction is going to be that it's going to be a really good movie, but it's going to bomb at the box office.
That's an interesting prediction.
Yeah.
I am not going to predict. I like to when I'm excited about a movie, I just kind of like to let it flow. I do predict that it would be a 7 or better though.
Okay.
But how it does, for me.
So it'll be better than The Flash.
Right. Definitely better than The Flash. So I'm not going to predict what it does in the box office, but I predict for me it would be a good movie.
Okay. I would go with that. I think 7 or better. I wouldn't be surprised. I just, based off of how poor I think the market, like this is the most I've heard about this movie, and it's coming out in like a few days.
Right.
So I just think they've done a poor job of marketing. I think it's like they're afraid. Right, if they don't want to put too much behind it because they did that with The Flash. I mean, dude, The Flash was everywhere.
Right,
and then when you showed up to the movies, nobody was there.
Minus Ezra.
Yeah, minus Ezra. Yep. So, and I think they're kind of hedging their bets with this. And I've also I've heard some kind of rumors about, depending on how this movie does, that will determine if the Blue Beetle is part of the DCU. Or if it's left as part of the DCEU, which ends with Aquaman 2.
Well, Black Adam was a great movie.
Yep.
And they didn't even spin that off into the Chinese market, which would have allowed it to just dominate, I think.
Absolutely.
So it's about how they decide to market the Blue Beetle, which will determine all of those things, whether it bombs in the box office and whether it's part of the DCU or the DCEU.
Right.
So the same people that are cutting the paychecks of the writers are also deciding, where this thing goes. Yep. So they could make or break it just by where they decide to, have the showings.
Right. Right. And it's interesting that they're that on the fence about it. But I guess it's maybe due to these recent failures, right? So they don't want to put too much behind this. But another interesting part about this movie is initially this movie was planned to drop as a streaming movie, or as you'd call them, direct to DVD.
Right.
And they decided not to. So that tells me that maybe it was a lot better than they expected it. Because why would they? Armor Wars, same thing. With Marvel, was originally going to be a series.
Right.
And then they said, no, let's make this into a movie. Now, this wasn't going to be a series, but it was going to be a straight-to-streaming release, which means it's not – I mean, I guess for anyone who doesn't understand when Adrian says direct-to-DVD, normally the shittier movies were direct-to-DVD, right?
Well, a little clarification on that. So direct-to-DVD means this. It was made for the movies, but it sucked so bad, it should have just gone streaming, right? Yeah. If they make a movie for streaming – then it's a streaming movie.
Yeah.
So Netflix, all those movies, those are streaming movies. But The Flash, which was made for the theater, should have been a streaming. Actually, they shouldn't have even made the movie.
Shouldn't have made it.
Just left it at Flashpoint. Yep. And we would have had, we wouldn't have sour taste in our mouth about the Flash.
Right.
Now he's less than a sidekick with Ezra.
Would you rather see a Robin movie than Flash 2?
Dude, I'd rather see a tortoise turn a stone over on the banks of a river than to see Flash.
And you're not talking like a Ninja Turtle. You're talking
I'm just talking an
tortoise.
actual little small green turtle. I would sit there and watch him move a rock than to watch the Flash again.
Got it. But so the fact that Blue Beetle originally was straight to streaming, then got moved into the theater, makes me think that again the studio saw a lot more in it, some more potential. I don't like the on the fence. Right. I don't like the let's see how it does, because a lot of times how it does is determined by the marketing.
Right.
Because we've seen good movies. For your example, the Black Adam.
Right.
Good movie.
Yep.
Marketing, okay.
Right.
But they didn't put all behind it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like they didn't have its back. It was kind of like, hey, check it out. If you don't like it, we don't like it.
Right. Hey, you know, I think they've lost that Stan Lee, and I'm not talking about just Marvel or just DC, but I mean Stan Lee. He was bold, and that's not what's happening today. It's like you're like that guy that likes a girl in high school, and you kind of try to jeopardize the relationship with the current boyfriend in the background. Yeah. You don't walk up to the guy. You don't tell the girl. You just try to sabotage stuff from the back end. That's what, you know, it seems that these directors are doing these days. They're sabotaging these characters by not being bold. Mm-hmm. You know, step out. Listen, we're going to make this movie. It's going to go to streaming. We're going to pay the people, the writers, and the actors for streaming too. And we're going to make this movie for the big screen, and we're going to put them in all the markets. Just be bold. It's either going to fail or it's not going to fail. Don't make them fail by not being bold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the bold movies, these risks that they took paid off very well. I mean, Infinity War was bold.
Yep.
You snapped and killed half the universe for over a year.
Right.
That was bold.
Yep.
This recent, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
That was bold. To leave on a cliffhanger like that. Miles is all hemmed up by evil Miles, and we just stop. We don't know what's going to happen for 2 years.
Well, I mean, just the first Miles Morales Spider-Man was bold,
right?
You know, the
art style,
the art style. Yep. I mean, all of that stuff was bold.
Yep, never been done before.
Nope.
And now we're seeing. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. We just talked about it last week. Yep. We're seeing the influence there, and you're going to continue to see that. But that was a bold choice.
Yep.
You know, this whole let's put it out and see how it does, and decide if it fits in our story. That's not bold.
No.
That's some punk ass shit right there.
Right.
Like we don't know. We'll see. Like, dude, have some confidence. If it was that good that you took it off of streaming and threw it in the movie theater instead, stand behind it.
If you drop in $30, $40, $50 million to make a movie, I mean, everything about it should be bold.
Right.
I mean, just go out there, do it.
Yep. So now, as far as the Blue Beetle, the scarab is where he gets his power from. Right. Yep. Now, I didn't even. I could say that I've probably heard of him, but I had no idea who Blue Beetle was prior to this. Did you?
No. I mean, I'd seen it. I kind of like scanned. I saw it, the comic book, as I was looking for Iron Man and Fantastic Four, but I was never really interested in it.
No. And I remember seeing the character in the one of the Injustice games, and I always thought he was just like an Iron Man knockoff, like a blue Iron Man. Mm. But then when you read about the character, it kind of sounds like, at least for me, this version. Now I also learned that there were several Blue Beetles, almost like Green Lantern, different people having a scarab, I guess.
Right, but also the Blue Beetle that I kind of scanned across when I was growing up isn't the Blue Beetle that's in this movie.
Right.
It was some mass dude like the Phantom or something level. Yep. That's why I wasn't really interested in it.
Got it.
You know, so to me he was like a poor vigilante kind of a deal.
And I guess this one, Jaime, is, I don't know his last name, but Jaime's the character who is now the Blue Beetle. And in the comics, I read that he becomes the Blue Beetle after the previous Beetle dies, I guess.
Right.
And then this scarab. So the scarab is like an alien entity, and it bonds with a human that I guess it picks maybe, and then it kind of like shares the body, almost like sounds similar to like a Venom symbiote almost.
Well, the backstory is that it's like a alien AI.
Yeah.
kind of like in what was happening. It was made by the Reach, which was like the Borg, I guess.
Yep.
They like just took over things, and the Green Lantern Corps, you know, they defeated them 40,000 years ago or 10,000 or whatever.
Yep.
And so, but what they still did was be sneaky, and they came up with this technology that they can deploy to planets that they decided to take over.
Okay.
And it would take over a host, right? And it would bestow this host these powers. And then when the Reach came to full fruition, no, actually, when the planet gets to a certain technology level, then the Blue Beetle would take over that planet.
Got it.
So, I mean, that's kind of like the backstory that I just quickly read.
Yeah, I got you. So, do you think that this Scarab is going to have some influence over Jaime Reyes is the character's name, similar to how the Venom symbiote does over Eddie Brock?
I think so. I think the Blue Beetle AI is probably more helpful.
Yeah.
As opposed to destructive and confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. That's going to be, I think, for me, the exciting part about watching this movie.
Yeah.
You know, how that interaction happens. I hope it's not like a symbiote kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like that because that would just be kind of like knockoff-ish.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's so many other things. It seems like in the previews, it's more trying to help and protect as opposed to contradict and eat everything.
That's why even reading that, I'm like, that does not sound like what I've seen from the trailers yet.
Right.
Which, hey, maybe they're doing a good job of not showing us the whole movie from the trailer.
Right.
Because I at least, have you felt that way with these trailers? Is we've not seen a lot. It's just kind of been the same stuff, maybe a little over and over, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I'm fine. I am too. My wife and I, we watched the movie. This probably a couple years ago. We saw so much of the trailer.
Yeah.
When we walked into the movie, literally the only thing that we didn't see is a kid eating a box of popcorn in the movie. It was like, why did we pay $300 to come to the movie theater to watch something that we had already seen in the trailer?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're not putting out so much because it leaves a little mystery.
Absolutely. Well, there's also mystery in what James Gunn is saying. So,
of course,
James Gunn said at one point, he said that the Blue Beetle will be part of the new plan as the first character in the DCU. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then he also says that the upcoming Superman movie, Superman Legacy, where they casted Henry Cavill's clone, where James Gunn set to direct that movie, he says that is the first film in the DCU. So, which one is it?
All right.
Like, they both can't be. Do you understand first is associated with the number one, right?
Right.
So 2's not 1.
Right.
I don't know what kind of math you're doing, James Gunn, but that goes back to my point of they're pussyfooting around with this.
Right. Right. Assuming they even release it. I mean, Blue Beetle is set to come out Friday. They might pull it Thursday night. I mean, whatever, some other kind of delay.
Yeah, the way they're going.
First is first.
First is first, dude. One of them's got to be first. But I don't like that half-ass, like, we'll see what it does. Do make a decision. Stand behind it.
Be bold.
Be bold, dude. The only thing you had mentioned that you don't want it to be a ripoff of Venom. I don't either. I think that is, I predicted along with you that it's going to be a pretty good movie. But here's where I have my reservations. Here's why I agree with you on 7 or better. But no, I'm not going to say it's going to be 8, 9, 10.
No.
I'm nervous for the exact thing that you don't want to see with I'm nervous that we're going to see this movie and it's going to feel like a copycat of some other things.
Right.
He's very similar to Spider-Man. Teenage guy,
right.
Now Spider-Man gets bit by a spider, gets powers. This kid gets a scarab and gets,
right.
access to powers, right? So he's very similar. And then a lot of what I've seen with the suit looks very similar to the Iron Man suit, particularly the one from Infinity War and Endgame with the nanonites, where he can kind of
right.
create anything he wants.
Right.
And even the way he moves around and fly, it looks very similar to. Now, I know it's superhero, so it's hard to have everything look very different, but I'm nervous that it's going to feel too much like a Spider-Man, Iron Man clone.
Well, I'm not as concerned. I'm concerned less about the similarities because, I mean, there's only so many supersets when it comes to like armor, things like that.
True.
I'm more concerned that I think that the storyline, which is why this is important, I think the storyline is what's going to separate that. I think you'll sit there and you won't even think about the comparison because the storyline is going to be strong enough to make you not think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, how the Blue Beetle interacts with this person, his human host, is actually more of a concern to me than the comparison with the armor kind of stuff.
I gotcha. Do you think we'll see any DC cameos in this that haven't been announced?
Yes.
You do. Any particular ones you want to predict?
Tom Cruise is Superman.
Tom Cruise is Superman. I can't wait to see this movie. I'm gonna say no. I don't think we're gonna see any. Mm-hmm. See, we can have different opinions.
Sure.
I'm not gonna say you have a hot take. You're not gonna say that you think there will. I think they won't. We'll settle it next week, Adrian.